Hey there. So welcome to episode 2 of Wildin Out with Wild Dog. So this time I'm going to be taking a look at the second issue of the Wild Dog miniseries that DC did back in '87. Again, this is written by Max Allan Collins and it's drawn by Terry Beattie and Dick Giordano. Just real quick, I wanted to take a look again at a page from the first issue that I feel like I kind of glossed over, where since we don't know Wild Dog's identity yet, we have this page here that kind of introduced some suspects. It's like who could be Wild Dog. So first off, we have Lieutenant Flint is a cop who sees this happening on the news, and he yells out "Ye gods," which is definitely a reference to Dick Tracy. That was a saying of his back in the day, and with Collins writing Dick Tracy too, there's no way that's like a coincidence. Then we have a reporter named Lou Goddard at the local news station, or at the newspaper, I guess. Then we have Jack Wheeler, who's a mechanic who hears about it on the radio. And then we have this guy, Graham Galt, which looks to be like a CIA agent. And so these are the people they're kind of setting up to be, Wild Dog in this book. And so, we get more of them in the second issue, so I just wanted to go over that again real quick, just so everybody remembers, who the suspects are so far, since we don't know Wild Dog's actual identity yet. So then the second issue starts up with the sort of climax from the last issue, where Wild Dog is kicking the terrorist in the head and breaking his neck, live on TV. And then we have the reporter Susan King from the first issue here kind of telling the story of what happened and talking to Chief Davis from the local police. And now we are getting where Wild Dog is the name that's kind of sticking for this guy, for the vigilante that, this series is about. Then we've got Susan talking to her boss about, hey, what if I could find out who Wild Dog is? Then we cut to Lou Goddard's, breakfast table here, where he's getting ready in the morning with his daughter and kind of talking about Wild Dog. He's in the news right now. It's sort of like a big local story here. Then we cut to a motel room in Davenport, where we have this couple, and this woman's telling this guy that he's a brave soldier. The cause will honor his memory. And so we're going to find out this is some more members of the terrorist organization from the first issue, but we don't really know what's going on here yet. Then we've got Susan interviewing Lieutenant Flint. Again, she's starting to kind of put this puzzle together too, and Flint is one of her suspects to who could be Wild Dog. I think he was even off that day, so he wouldn't have been responding to the call necessarily. So, in her mind, he could have been there. He could be Wild Dog. Then we have Graham Galt showing up here talking to Flint, and it seems like they know each other. And then we have Galt calling on Jack here, the mechanic. So it looks like, at least 3 of the 4 suspects here know each other. So what I'm really hoping is what's not happening here is that Wild Dog turns out to be like a joint venture with these guys. I really don't want this to be a thing of hey, today I'm going to be Wild Dog, tomorrow you'll be Wild Dog, and then we'll kind of pepper in these suspects in the same scene as Wild Dog to kind of mislead the reader. I really hope that's not what's happening here. I really hope it turns out Wild Dog is one guy and not this sort of group project these guys have going on. Again, here we got some old classic comic book ads in here from the 80s. Big Doc Savage ad here with Denny O'Neil, the Kuberts. So then we have the guy we saw in the motel room show up here to this high school, and his name is Dr. Mensa, but it looks like he's taking that guy's identity, so that's not really who this is. So they go to this big assembly here in the school gymnasium, it looks like, and this guy says he's not Dr. Mensa, he's been killed, and he shows he's got this vest of dynamite on that he's brought to the assembly. And he starts talking about a decadent, decaying society and all this. So yeah, he's a part of this, terrorist group that we saw in the first issue. And Here are our thugs with the hoods that we saw. We also see Goddard's daughter here goes to this school, and, you know, she's at this assembly that's under attack. And so, again, it gets out on the news, you know, that this is going on. And so we see Goddard driving. We see Jack here, you know, hearing the report on the news radio here. And, you know, Flint is on the scene here. And so he is just walking into the school. Now, again, you know, he kind of confronts the terrorists. And they kind of take him captive here and throw him in a closet. But again, you know, this is before Wild Dog shows up, so, you know, he could be pulling, you know, a Superman here and just switching to his identity in the, you know, janitor's closet here or something. We're not sure. But then we do see Wild Dog start to sneak into the school here. And, you know, he's up on the roof. He cuts a hole in the glass here. And, you know, as the terrorist is telling him that, like, only half of the students are going to be allowed to leave, the other half will, you know, in theory, die in the explosion with him. But then we see Wild Dog shoot a dart, and again, kind of come in on a rope and start shooting the terrorists. And we get a few pages here. Now, the terrorists do get the drop on him here and shoot him in the chest several times, but it looks like he is probably wearing some kind of bulletproof vest or something underneath. Meanwhile, the students here are saying, like, oh, he must be like Superman, the bullets bounce off. It doesn't seem to be the actual case here. I don't think there's any superpowers here involved with Wild Dog. He feels very much like a street-level kind of vigilante here. But now we've got the kids cheering on Wild Dog as he's, you know, attacking the terrorists here. Definitely becoming a hero to the kids. So then, you know, Wild Dog has subdued the guy with the vest. And where he took a hostage of Susan King, the reporter, last issue, here he has got the terrorist that he's using to get past the police. You know, they're not going to shoot him when he's got this guy with the vest on him. So we go back to the pickup truck, and he takes him out to a cornfield. And so now he's in this barn on this farm. They're waiting for the other terrorists to show up, and when they do, Wild Dog sets off the bomb, you know, killing everybody here. Again, so, you know, Wild Dog's body count is just rising here. But this doesn't look to be like, you know, Batman with the recurring cast of villains. So we're looking like a little more Punisher here, where the villains are one and done, you know, because Wild Dog is killing them. Again, I'm assuming there's going to be more with these terrorists, because, you know, we're only looking at 4 issues for this story, and so we're halfway there. And we have this little caption here for the next issue saying, next month you are Wild Dog. Whereas on the cover here, we've still got this is Wild Dog. I know you are Wild Dog, you know, not to skip ahead too far, but that is on the cover of the 4th issue. So I'm thinking someone might have jumped the gun on this. I feel like that would be the teaser for the last issue. But yeah, that's kind of it for this story, you know, what we get of Wild Dog. Yeah, I don't know if I have any better idea of who Wild Dog is at this point. I mean, Flint was on the scene. You know, we do see him sort of incapacitated in the closet. He could have come out of that shooting, you know, taking on these terrorists. I don't feel like we see Galt at the scene at the school. We see the reporter kind of, you know, in his car when he hears about his daughter's school being attacked. He could have run to the school real quick and done this. You know, so, again, I'm not really leaning one way or another towards any of the suspects here for who Wild Dog is yet. I mean, I think it's an interesting idea. And, again, not the only, you know, superhero comic to do this kind of thing where they don't let you know who the hero's real identity is yet. I feel like they did a lot of that with Shadowhawk in the 90s. I feel like that was a big part of that run for quite a while, where the reader didn't know who Shadowhawk was right away. So yeah, we got kind of an earlier thing here with Wild Dog, and again, just sort of the 80s action anti-hero, you know, take no prisoners kind of guy. Yeah, so do you have any theories as to who Wild Dog is yet at this point? Yeah, let me know in the comments below who you think Wild Dog is, and be sure to come back for episode 3. Well, we'll keep taking a look at the Wild Dog miniseries here and try to figure out who he is. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter/X @Detective651, also on Instagram @Detective651. Be sure to check out my t-shirt store at tpublic.com/user/detective651. I've got a lot of nerdy designs on there, and there's sales all the time, so check it out frequently.